The sleek black sports car gleamed under the fluorescent lights of the parking garage, its polished exterior catching the eye of every passerby. The engine purred softly, a low, throaty hum that seemed to promise speed and luxury in equal measure. For Clara, it was a siren song, a sudden revelation that her assumptions about the man who had approached her earlier might have been entirely wrong. She had met him at the bar, where he had struck up a conversation with an easy smile and a confident demeanor. He wasn't her usual type, too casual, too unassuming. With his untucked shirt and slightly scruffy beard, she had sized him up quickly, deciding that he wasn't worth her time. After all, she had standards. Wealthy men were her currency, and she could tell at a glance that this one didn't fit the bill. So when he had asked her out, she had politely declined, citing prior plans. It wasn't personal, it was business, or so she had thought. Now, standing in the shadow of his car, Clara felt a pang of regret. Her instincts had betrayed her. His car was no rental, it was a custom-built masterpiece, the kind of vehicle that screamed wealth and taste, and the way he moved around it, checking the tires casually as if it were an everyday occurrence, suggested that it was just another tool in his arsenal. This man was not what he seemed. Clara adjusted her dress, smoothing out the fabric over her curves. She had dressed for success tonight, choosing a form-fitting crimson number that accentuated her assets without being vulgar. Her heels clicked sharply against the concrete floor as she approached him, her confidence returning now that she had reassessed her target. "Hey," she said, her voice smooth and honeyed. "I think I made a mistake earlier." He glanced up from the tire he was inspecting, a quizzical expression on his face. There was no trace of recognition at first, but then his eyes narrowed slightly as he placed her. "Oh, right, you're the one who turned me down at the bar." "That's me," Clara said with a flirtatious smile, "but I think we got off on the wrong foot. I wasn't expecting all this." She gestured vaguely toward the car, her meaning clear. He straightened up, leaning back against the vehicle with an air of nonchalance. "And what exactly did you expect?" "I don't know," she admitted, playing coy, "but I definitely didn't expect you to be, well, you." He chuckled, a low sound that sent a shiver down her spine. "Fair enough, but if you'll excuse me, I'm actually headed home, alone." "Wait," Clara said quickly, stepping closer. "At least let me make it up to you. A ride? Just a short one. I promise I won't take up much of your time." He raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. "You want a ride? In my car?" "Yes," she said, nodding eagerly. "It's gorgeous. I'd love to experience it firsthand." He studied her for a moment, his gaze sharp and appraising. Then, much to her surprise, he shrugged. "Fine, but only because I'm feeling generous tonight." Clara's heart skipped a beat. "Thank you," she breathed, unable to hide her excitement. He opened the passenger door for her with a flourish, and she slid inside, inhaling the rich leather scent of the interior. The seat hugged her body like a second skin, and she couldn't help but run her fingers over the dashboard, marveling at the craftsmanship. "Buckle up," he said, sliding into the driver's seat beside her. The engine roared to life, the powerful vibrations resonating through the cabin. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice tinged with anticipation. "Anywhere you want," he replied, his tone almost teasing. "Within reason, of course." Clara hesitated, her mind racing. She hadn't expected him to be this accommodating. "How about the waterfront? It's quiet this time of night." He nodded, pulling smoothly out of the parking garage and onto the empty streets. The cityscape blurred past them as he accelerated, the car handling flawlessly despite its power. Clara gripped the armrest, her pulse quickening as they sped toward their destination. The waterfront was deserted, the moon casting a silvery glow over the water. He parked the car at the edge of the pier, the engine settling into a low purr as they came to a stop. Clara waited for him to speak, her nerves tingling with anticipation. Finally, he turned to her, his dark eyes locking onto hers. "So, what now?" he asked, his voice low and intimate. She swallowed hard, her mind stumbling for words. I don't know. What do you want? He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. What I want is for you to stop playing games. He leaned back, his dark eyes gleaming with a mix of challenge and curiosity. Truth or dare? He asked, the words slipping out like a dare itself. Clara blinked, caught off guard by the sudden shift in tone. What? She managed, her voice tinged with uncertainty. You heard me, he said, a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. Truth or dare? Let's see how honest you can be. She hesitated, her mind racing. This wasn't what she had expected, not the smooth seduction or the predictable flattery she was used to, but there was something undeniably intriguing about the way he watched her, as if he could see right through her facade. Fine, she said finally, folding her arms across her chest. Truth. His eyebrows arched in surprise, but he quickly masked it with a grin. Bold choice. All right, here we go. Why did you reject me at the bar? Only to change your mind when you saw my car? The question hit her like a slap, forcing her to confront the very thing she tried so hard to hide. She fidgeted with the hem of her dress, her mind scrambling for a response that wouldn't reveal too much. I didn't think you were interested, she said, choosing her words carefully. You seemed kind of aloof. He chuckled, shaking his head. Nice try, Clara, but we both know that's not the truth. Her cheeks flushed, a mix of embarrassment and irritation bubbling up inside her. Okay, fine, you're right. I thought you were just another guy trying to buy my attention. I didn't realize you were different. His expression softened, but there was still a glint of skepticism in his eyes. Different how? She hesitated again, feeling surprisingly vulnerable under his steady gaze. I don't know, you just challenged me, in a way no one else has. He nodded slowly, as if considering her answer. Okay, fair enough, your turn. Truth or dare? Clara hesitated, weighing her options. The tension between them was palpable, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to dive deeper into this uncomfortable honesty or push things in a more playful direction. Dare, she said finally, her voice firm. His smirk returned, wide and mischievous. All right, here's your dare. Kiss me, right now. No strings attached, no ulterior motives. Just kiss me. Her breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding against her ribcage. This was unexpected, bold. Even for him, she could feel his eyes on her, waiting for her reaction, and she knew there was no backing out now. Slowly, she leaned toward him, her body trembling with a mix of apprehension and excitement. Their lips met in a soft, tentative touch, and for a moment, everything else faded away. The world outside the car seemed to disappear, leaving only the two of them in their own private bubble. The kiss deepened, his hands finding their way to her waist as she wrapped her arms around his neck. It was electric, unlike anything she had experienced before. There was no gamesmanship here, no hidden agendas, just pure, unfiltered connection. When they finally pulled apart, both of them breathless, Clara couldn't help but feel a little dazed. She looked into his eyes, searching for some clue as to what this meant, but all she found was the same intense, unreadable gaze. Your turn, he said, his voice husky. Truth or dare? She swallowed hard, her mind racing. Truth. He leaned back, his expression thoughtful. Why do you do it, Clara? Seek out men for their money. I mean, is it just about the lifestyle, or is there more to it? The question hung in the air between them, heavy and unrelenting. Clara felt herself shrink under his scrutiny, her defenses crumbling piece by piece. She wanted to lie, to throw out some glib response that would satisfy him without revealing too much, but something about the way he asked, so genuinely curious, made it impossible to dodge. It's complicated, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. It started because I wanted security, stability, but over time, it became easier to keep doing it. to rely on my looks and charm instead of working for what I want. He nodded, his expression thoughtful. And now, do you still feel the same way? Clara bit her lip, hesitating. Not really, not after tonight. You've made me question a lot of things. He smiled faintly, reaching out to brush a strand of hair behind her ear. Good, because I'm not interested in someone who's just looking for a quick fix. I want someone real, Clara, someone who's willing to put in the effort. Her heart skipped a beat, a wave of emotions crashing over her. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt seen, truly seen, not as a prize to be won, but as a person with flaws and fears and dreams. Your turn, he said, his voice softer now. Clara took a deep breath, her mind made up. Dare. His smile widened, and he leaned closer, his lips brushing against her ear. Take off your dress, slowly. Her breath hitched, heat spreading through her body at his words. She hesitated for only a moment before reaching behind her neck to unclasp the straps of her dress. It slid down her shoulders, falling to pool at her waist as she pulled it over her hips. Her lace bralette and panties were all that remained, and she felt suddenly exposed, both physically and emotionally. He watched her intently, his dark eyes gleaming with desire. Without a word, he reached out to cup her face, pulling her in for another kiss. This time, there was no hesitation, no holding back. His hands roamed over her body, tracing the curves of her waist and hips as she responded in kind, her fingers tangling in his hair. The car seemed to shrink around them, the world outside fading into insignificance. All that mattered was the heat between them, the electricity that crackled in the air with every touch, every breath. Truth or dare? He murmured against her lips, his voice a low, seductive growl. Clara didn't even have to think about it. Dare. He grinned, his eyes dark with promise. Touch yourself. Show me how you like it.